So one of the things you wrote about the critical inner voice, I remember you saying something about it's more of like a background. You're not necessarily hearing this, but it's not easy to identify, and yet it's in the background. So what are some of the ways that you can tell that your critical inner voice is actually dictating your behavior?
Yeah, I talk about it being kind of a droning noise in the background that you're not really aware of. But what's interesting is you can tell at times where you're frustrated, you do something, you're frustrated with yourself, and you think, oh, I'm so stupid, or times where you think that, you can't do anything right, or times where you're also doing something new and you're nervous and you think, oh, but you're not smart enough to do that, or you're not talented enough to do that. So you can be aware of ways you get into a relationship. Oh, you're not really that kind of person that somebody could really fall in love with. You're not the kind of person somebody might want to have a child with. So you can get a feeling for the ways that you attack yourself. If you're start being aware of those types of thoughts. And then if you look into them, that usually opens you up to even more attacks. You could, sort of like opening a box, Pandora's box, then you're aware of more attacks there. And one thing that's interesting to me about the critical inner voice is that when you get familiar with what your voices are, everybody has certain themes that really, that they keep attacking themselves with. So you can get smart about whatever your theme is, and then you can identify situations where it would come in, and so you can sort of get smarter about it, and you can look for it in different situations because you know the kind of situations that would trigger you, or the kind of actions that it influences. So when you start doing those things, you can look for the voices you're having that are influencing you to do those things.
Are there certain feelings that can tell you that you're under the influence of the voice?
Absolutely. I mean, one feeling is if you're in a situation and you suddenly feel like you used to feel as a kid, you can pretty much be sure your voice is there telling you something and actually scolding you, or disciplining you, or criticizing you, treating you in some way making you feel like you felt when you were a kid. So that's definitely a sign. And if you get down, if you get depressed, I think that in terms of depression, I think it's really valuable to look for the voice attacks when you're depressed, because people are so confused when they're depressed too. So if they can find out what they're telling themselves, then they can sort of fight back and get out of it, offer them a way out.
Yeah, and speaking of that, the voice therapy process, you have, you take a voice like, I'm so stupid, and you make it, you're so stupid. Mm-hmm. And so why is that important?
One really unusual and important part of voice therapy is you take your self-critical statement, whatever your self-criticism is of yourself, you take it and you change it from an I statement to a you statement. It's like, I'm so stupid becomes, you're so stupid. And that's really important because it gives you some clarity and some objectivity. It removes it from you, and then it gives you a feeling of who you are separate from that statement, and then you're able to deal with it. And you can look at it, you can confront it, you can plan what you're going to do about it, you can plan how you're going to change. So it's such a simple suggestion, but it's really impactful. So a lot of times after people say their voices, they have a lot of feeling and they have insight. It's like, oh my God, I felt this way growing up, and I felt this way in school. I felt this, I felt like I was the stupid one in my family, and that's what was my label. So they have insight. And then another step is to sort of stand up for yourself, to answer it, and to say, and it's important to be realistic too, but to be compassionate. And because you don't make grandiose statements. No, I'm not, I'm brilliant. No, you're not brilliant. I'm not stupid. I have good ideas about things, and also everybody else isn't so incredibly smart. It's not a world like that with smart people and stupid people. I'm just like anybody. I'm a normal person, and I don't like being labeled that. I don't like being restricted by this point of view, and I'm not going to listen to you anymore. And it could be something like that.
Mm-hmm.
This is a really useful tool in your life, because in your daily life these things keep coming up, and sometimes you miss them. You don't see it coming up. You miss that it's come up, and then when you realize what it is, you can identify the voice attack. I was laughing because I was thinking about for me, a recent example was, I never thought I'd write a book. So through this whole entire process, I've been riddled with voice attacks. So in the very beginning, you don't know what you're doing. You have no idea how to write a book. So if somebody would ask me, hey, what are you doing these days? I would never tell them I was writing a book, because the voice was, don't tell them you're writing a book because you're not an author. The whole thing is fake. So I listened to that voice. And then but I kept writing the book. So then I said, okay, I overcame that one. And so all along the way, I had voice attacks. But one thing I really value is that I have continued to do the actions and not listen to the voice during this whole project. I've written the book, I got a publisher, the publicity was another thing too, the marketing. Oh my, you don't know anything about marketing. And also you don't feel comfortable with marketing. And what are you going to do? Put yourself all over social media? You think people want to see you? You think people want to see your face all over everything? That's just disgusting, So I had lots of voices about that, but I still kept taking the actions. And the voices became quieter too after that. I kind of won out over them.